reconvening of session. Resolution number 22-179, a public hearing for consideration of the harsh number 480 drainage improvement petition filed by Thomas and Christine Binks.
So moved.
Second.
Discussion, vote.
Vote on motion 22-179. Mr. Benton?
Aye.
Mr. Merrill?
Aye.
Mrs. Lewis?
Aye.
Resolution number 22-180, in the matter of approving for a specific occurrence a suspension of Rule 3, speaker registration, Rule 4, limitations, and Rule 7, public comment procedures from the rules governing public comment before the Board of County Commissioners of Delaware County, Ohio.
So moved.
Second.
Discussion, vote.
Vote on motion 22-180. Mr. Merrill?
Aye.
Mr. Benton?
Aye.
Mrs. Lewis?
All right, thank you. Welcome, everyone, to...
Did you actually vote?
Did you vote? Did you get a vote?
Did I vote?
Say aye.
Aye.
Okay, there we go.
Thank you, thank you. Yeah,
We're moving
thanks.
forward.
Now moving right along. Welcome, everyone, to the public hearing for consideration of the drainage improvement petition for harsh number 480. This is the first hearing of the petition, and there's a sign-in sheet available, and we ask that everyone please sign in. And I'm going to give you just a little overview of what will happen today. We will hear a report from the county engineer and Soil and Water Conservation District. There are copies available of this report, and then we will hear any questions from the board. The board will acknowledge any receipt of written letters in favor or against the petition. After questions, there will be time for testimony from landowners, and those speaking for or against the project must be either an owner as defined in section 6131.01 of the Ohio Revised Code, or an attorney speaking on behalf of an owner. During testimony, you will be asked to take an oath, and when it is time to offer testimony, we will work our way through the participants, and the testimony will continue. If new information comes up or additional people wish to speak. After testimony, the board will close the public hearing, or the board may choose to continue the hearing. After the hearing is closed, the board will decide whether to proceed with the survey and design or dismiss the petition. When the board considers the following, the board will consider the following in their decision: whether the board finds that the proposed improvement is necessary, whether it will be conducive to the public welfare, whether the board also finds that it is reasonably certain that the benefits of the proposed improvement will outweigh its costs. If the board proceeds with the petition, the Delaware County engineer will prepare plans, reports, and individual schedules of assessments for the project. When plans are complete, a final hearing will be set. Notification of the hearing will be given to landowners, and the board will consider the project. And now I would like to turn the mic over to Brett Bacon of Soil and Water. Thanks, Brett.
Good morning, Commissioners. Brett Bacon, Delaware Soil and Water Conservation District. By statute, I will read the first hearing report into the record, and then I'd be happy to answer any questions the board may have. First hearing report, harsh number 480 watershed drainage petition per ORC 6131, March 14th, 2022. This report has been prepared for the preliminary hearing on a drainage improvement petition filed by Thomas M. and Christine L. Finks on September 8th, 2021. The original petition has been signed by 2 individuals representing one of the 24 parcels in the watershed. The general location and course of the requested improvements are quoted from the petition as follows: in Delaware County, Scioto Township, within the harsh number 480 watershed, and generally following but not limited to the course and termini of the existing improvements. The following is the nature of the work petitioned as quoted from the petition: to generally improve the drainage, both surface and subsurface, to a good and sufficient outlet by replacing, repairing, or altering the existing improvements as required and/or creating new surface and subsurface drainage mains or laterals as requested by this ditch petition. We have found and repaired several broken and plugged tile on this property as well as on parcel number 2004-001-068-000 and parcel number 2004-0001-033-000. We requested access to parcel number 2004-0001-032-000 to repair any broken or plugged tile, and we have been denied access to this property. We are willing to repair these tile on other properties if we could have access. Petition process. This petition has been submitted according to Section 6131 of the Ohio Revised Code, which authorizes the Board of Commissioners to act on behalf of benefited property owners to make drainage improvements. If the Board of Commissioners decides to proceed with the project, the costs related to the improvements in the development of plans, reports, and schedules are assessed to the landowners in the watershed according to the benefit received to their watershed acreage. These special assessments will be added to the property taxes for each property and can be spread over a maximum of a 15-year period. Property owners may also choose to pay their assessment in a lump sum payment prior to placement on their property taxes. Additionally, the improvements will be placed on the Delaware County Drainage Maintenance Program in perpetuity per ORC Section 6137, and the annual maintenance assessment will appear on property tax statements as a special assessment in the same manner as the construction assessments. These annual maintenance assessments are generally in the range of 2 to 3% of the construction assessment. It should be noted that property owners are only assessed for those improvements that are located downstream from their properties. No property is assessed for improvements located upstream. The public agencies that own rights-of-way for public roads and other public lands are also assessed for both construction and maintenance costs in the same manner as private property owners. The decision to approve a petition project is a three-step process. First, a viewing of the proposed improvement is conducted for the commissioners to familiarize themselves with the watershed and general conditions. The commissioners conducted the viewing for this project by drone video on December 20th, 2021. Next, a preliminary hearing is held to consider the initial feasibility of the proposal. It is this preliminary first hearing that is before us today. If this petition is approved, a final hearing will be conducted to further consider this petition. At that time, final details such as engineering plans and specifications, cost estimates, and a proposed schedule of assessments will be known. Existing conditions. The Delaware Soil and Water Conservation District and Delaware County Engineers Office have made the following observations of the watershed using on-site and drone video evaluation and a review of available historic records, aerial photography, topographic mapping, and soils mapping. The Harsh No. 480 watershed is approximately 75 acres. The predominant land use within the watershed is currently agricultural. There are also areas of rural residential, road right-of-way, and woods. Improvements in the watershed have been constructed using the ORC 6131 process in 1919. These improvements consisted of subsurface drain installation. The drainage system does not appear to be functioning at or near optimum capacity due to a lack of comprehensive maintenance and the generally deteriorated condition of the infrastructure. The subsurface drain system appears to have significant areas of structural failure as observed by sporadic blowouts along its course. The surface grade is impeded in reaches due to brush, debris, and accumulated sediment in its path. These conditions are indicators of an overburdened, aged, and unmaintained drainage infrastructure. While the existing drainage system still provides some degree of drainage benefit, it does not appear to function as a good and sufficient outlet. Estimate of cost factors favorable, unfavorable benefit versus cost. ORC 6131 requires the county engineer to state in a report factors favorable and unfavorable to a proposed project, estimate the cost of the project, and state an opinion as to whether the benefits of the project exceed the cost. The following information is presented for your consideration. Construction estimate. The project would begin at the junction of the Harsh No. 480 drainage system and State Route 37 and extend upstream to parcel number 2004-001-063-002 to meet the request of the petitioner. The primary items of work along the entire length would include surface drain shaping and grading, the replacement of existing subsurface drains, the construction of a grade stabilization structure, private drive culvert installations, brush and vegetation removal, and seeding and mulching of disturbed areas. If the project proceeds to a final hearing, Portions of the watershed may be further divided into sections to better define the areas of work and the associated costs and benefits. This level of detail is not determined for the preliminary hearing and is only undertaken if the petition moves forward to a second or final hearing. The cost estimate as presented below reflects the entire requested project area. Construction, $71,002.50. Drainage maintenance, first year startup, 5% of the construction estimate, $3,550.13. Project administration, survey, and engineering, 10% of the construction estimate, $7,100.25. Total project estimate, $81,652.88. Notes. It is important to understand that the above estimates are preliminary and made in the absence of a current detailed topographic survey of the project area. The above estimate does not contain a contingency amount. The amount of necessary contingency would be evaluated as part of the survey and engineering design of the project and added to the estimate presented at the final hearing. Contingency cost is typically estimated at 15 to 20% of the final construction estimate. Should the project fail to be approved at the final hearing, the benefiting landowners, as defined by ORC 6131, may still be responsible for the cost of project administration, survey, and engineering design. Assessments. If the project moves forward to the second hearing, the Ohio Revised Code instructs the county engineer to calculate the assessments to individual property owners based on the benefits received from the improvements for the various properties in the watershed. ORC 6131 states that, quote, uplands that have been removed from their natural state by deforestation, cultivation, artificial drainage, urban development, or other man-made causes shall be considered as benefited by an improvement required to dispose of the accelerated flow of water from the uplands. Benefits are further defined by the ORC as elimination or reduction of damage from flood, removal of water conditions that jeopardize public health, safety, or welfare, and increased value of land resulting from the improvement. Individual parcel assessments are not calculated for the preliminary hearing and are only calculated if the petition moves forward to a second or final hearing. Factors favorable, unfavorable. Factors favorable to the improvement. 1. Improved surface and subsurface drainage in the watershed. 2. Improved outlet for subsurface drainage components of household sewage treatment systems and for residential drainage systems. 3. Reduction of future deterioration of surface and subsurface drainage infrastructure. 4. Annual inspections, maintenance, and protection of the improvement in perpetuity. Factors unfavorable to the improvement. 1. Temporary land use disruption during construction. 2. Cost of construction and maintenance may be a burden to some landowners. 3. Removal of existing trees and brush in the improvement area. Benefits versus cost. Assessments for a property within the watershed are calculated based on the benefits derived. A publication by the Ohio State University Extension titled Returns to Farm Drainage details several studies conducted by Ohio State researchers on the effects of drainage on crop yields. These studies show that fields with good drainage will produce higher yields than fields that have poor drainage. A recently completed 25-year study showed that subsurface drainage increased corn yields by 24% to 39% and increased soybean yields by 13% to 46%. The same study also analyzed the return on investment for installing subsurface drainage in a field. It found that for corn, $4 is returned for every $1 invested, and for soybeans, $3 is returned for every $1 invested. To state it generally, the benefits of drainage will equal the increased yield multiplied by the market price. The increased value or benefit for residential properties is much more subjective and difficult to quantify. For residential properties, the lack of an adequate drainage outlet can negatively impact the condition of household sewage treatment systems, potentially limiting the value of the home for resale. Should the existing system fail, the cost to perform repairs or construct an alternate sewage treatment system can range from the thousands to tens of thousands of dollars. It would be also be reasonable to consider the cost of environmental degradation due to residential sewage treatment systems that may not be functioning properly. Other benefits that are commonly perceived as a result of drainage improvements focus on quality of life and positive neighborhood perception. Communities that have planned and maintained stormwater drainage infrastructures generally have higher resale values than those communities that are known to have a history of drainage problems or flooding. Conclusions. Based on all of the information gathered and generated for this project, I believe this project is technically feasible and would adequately serve the project area's drainage needs. However, the testimony brought to the board by the landowners as to whether the benefits of this project exceed the costs should be given significant consideration in the decision to move forward with this project. Should the current petition be approved, to proceed to a final hearing, the petition bond will be returned, and detailed plans, specifications, estimated costs, and a schedule of assessments would be prepared. Additionally, a benefit versus cost analysis will also be performed to further determine the feasibility of advancing this proposed project.
Thank you, Brett. Do we have any report from the county engineer's office on this?
That's my report.
That's your report, okay. Okay, thank you. Any questions from the board?
I have a
at this
couple of
point?
questions. You talked about replacing or repairing tiles. Is that something we typically do, or is that something unique to this project?
No, that's very typical of our
So you'd go out and
projects,
repair
yeah.
tiles anywhere?
Yeah. We would take a look at the tile as it exists, and if there are sections that are of sufficient capacity and the material quality is good, we would look and consider taking those on maintenance and just making repairs to the system where needed. But if we determine the system from a capacity standpoint needs to be replaced, upsized, or the material is just not such that it's,
So
we
even
can
if it's not on
salvage it,
maintenance,
but-
you would do that?
Pardon?
So even if it's not on maintenance, you would do that? 'Cause
No, we would evaluate that as part of the project and determine whether any of the existing system could be taken onto maintenance in its current condition.
But you said, maybe I'm confused, you said that you did some repairs.
That was the petitioner's
petitioner,
word
yes.
for word. That's what that was on page
Yeah.
1 of the report. He was reading what the petitioner wrote. That's
Okay,
where you can-
And you said we requested access to parcel, I'm not gonna read the number, to repair, and you were denied access to that property. Is that, which property owner was that?
I would have to let the petitioner speak to that as part of their testimony.
Okay.
I know they have communicated to me, they attempted to, I think, work this out or to be able to make these repairs cooperatively, and were not given access or allowed to make those by the adjoining
Okay.
landowner. But I'm sure they'll bring that to light in their testimony.
Very well. That's all I have.
Okay,
Yeah, that was the question I had, was just, and I figured we'd hear the details during the testimony. Because again, if the private sector can work this out and do it on their own, you know, we're almost always better off.
Absolutely.
Rather than us stepping in and working on a solution. So anyway, that was my only observation.
okay. Do we have any letters?
No letters were submitted for this petition.
Okay, thank you. And at this point, we will hear testimony from the landowners. And I will first take testimony from those speaking for the petition. And anyone speaking for the petition, come forward and I will swear you in. Do you solemnly swear, please raise your right hand, sir. Do you solemnly swear that the testimony that you are about to give is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth? So help you God.
Yes.
Thank you. If you could just state your name and address in parcel number, please.
I'm not sure I have a parcel number. My name is Thomas Finks, and my address is 188 Brendel Road, Ostrander, Ohio. Might be parcel number 20040001068000.
Do you have the map? Because it
You
gives
have a
it gives a
map?
I have
number.
the
Yeah.
map.
The
yeah.
one-digit number just simplifies.
Right,
I think it's number 8, the
Okay,
big one.
number 8.
Yeah.
okay. this-
So
Much
the blue
simpler.
area,
Yes.
the big blue area
Yes.
would be the,
Okay.
so I'm the landowner of this property. I've owned this property since 2010. My father, Calvin Finks, is the farmer, along with my nephew, Austin Weigel. And so we've been farming it for a few years now, trying to maintain the tile system that's currently exists there. Here in the last probably 3 years or so, we've been experiencing a lot more issues with the tile system, with blow-ups and things like that. We repair those as we find them. We also farm parcel number 11, which borders there, which is Eugene May. And we've worked with him also in repairing any tile blow-ups, but there's certainly some in that area as well. There's a breather right now between parcel, or number 8 and number 11 in that fence line there, which helps, obviously, the system operate more effectively, get some air down in there to make the water flow a little bit better. Last fall, when we were checking things out and everything, looking at that breather, you can look down in there and actually see the water doesn't move. So there's water standing in the tile, and it's not going anywhere, which is obviously not the way for it to work in order to drain all of the systems up in that area. Last year, we tried to do some double crop on that field. We did wheat in the spring, and after we took the wheat off, with the drainage not working as effectively as it should be, it was too wet to get in the beans for the double crop. So we kind of lost out on that, and that's kind of what we're experiencing over the last few years. The heavy rains that we've been getting here recently have also caused a lot of flooding. We're starting to see a lot more cutting of the ditches down through there where the water's draining down through, as far as that's concerned. We have spoke with, on parcel number, well, I don't have the parcel number, but number 1 on your map, that is owned by, well, according to the paperwork, it's in a trust, but Carl Stover is the landowner. It'd be Daniel Cooper trustee is how it's listed. We did speak with him about the possibility of coming in on his property and see if we could fix if there was any blowouts or plugs in that area, and he declined us access to his property to look to see if that's where the plug was or anything like that. I mean, we try to be courteous and try and work this out as far as that's concerned, but not having access to the property would, and we offered to make the property, or make the repairs at our cost, not have him help us with any of the repairs there. So I guess that would be kind of where we're at this point in time. I mean, this was our next step to try and get the water flowing the right way as far as that
The
goes. So.
drainage tile is on other parcels as well.
Yes.
Have you checked out those to see if there are blowouts or other issues on the other parcels?
We have in the past talked to the people at parcel number 19 and looked in that area, and we've not noticed any issues in their property at this point in time. As far as going on down, no, we haven't really gone on down from there, but we didn't notice any issues on the property number 19, so.
Did you notice issues on number 1 without going onto their property?
And we can't see far enough in to really see whether, I mean, I know he has some trees growing up, in the area where the tile line is up through there, so, I mean, the assumption might be the tree roots might be causing the issue, or, I mean, he may have blowouts in his area that would cause that, but without actually walking up through there, I mean, we have no way of really knowing or not.
What does it cost to fix a blowout typically? Do you have any idea?
Not really, I mean,
Is it mainly
basically you
labor,
just,
or is it?
it's
cost of
not a
time?
significant cost, it's basically just going in and digging the hole and getting down to the tile and replacing the tile where the blowout is. So I don't really have an out-of-pocket cost as far as what that is. We do it ourselves, we don't have somebody come in, so to know what somebody would charge to do that, I just don't know that answer.
Okay.
Yeah.
Do you consider yourself qualified to do that work, or?
Pardon me?
You said you do the work yourself. Are you qualified to do that work in your opinion, obviously?
I mean, between my dad and my nephew and I, we've done it for years, so I guess, I mean, is it something that we do on a regular basis? No, but yeah, I mean, it seems to work in terms of the fixes that we do, so.
Did parcel 1, the trustee, Daniel Cooper, did they give you a reason why they wouldn't allow you to
No.
get on the property? So you
No,
don't
he
know
did
the
not.
reason?
Any other questions? Okay, thank you, sir.
Yep, you're welcome. Thank you.
Would anyone else like to speak for the petition? Anyone else in favor of the petition? Okay, we will turn to anyone opposed to the petition who would like to speak. Anyone opposed? Brett, I did have one question, if you would. On your estimates, these are preliminary estimates, right?
Yes, that's
Oh,
correct.
Okay. What else do you have to do then to get a more exact
Sure.
estimate?
When we formulate an estimate for a first hearing, first of all, we're not basing that on any kind of field survey or I'll say engineering pen to paper, or mouse to computer, and to put it in current times. We have to look at basically what we know of the system, historic records, the aerial photography. We utilize the drone video that we would have produced for the viewing. And then we have to make some basic assumptions. Essentially, we have to assume worst-case scenario as far as what it's going to take to meet the request of the petition. So oftentimes we will go out after, if the board approves the project here at the first hearing, we will make extensive field survey of the area. We will do our calculations that go into formulating an engineering plan, and then actually, put those plans down on paper and develop our cost estimate based on the elements that we then produce as part of the engineering plan. A lot of times that estimate is the first hearing estimate. I think we have a pretty good track record of being within 10 to 15% either way of the first hearing estimate in terms of comparing final to first. This is an area where I would anticipate our final hearing estimate possibly coming in lower than what we've estimated at the first hearing here. I think there's, just looking at the topography, I think there's probably a little more elevation fall than what we can estimate at this stage or assume at this stage. Commissioner Merrill, you brought up the subsurface drain. There may be portions of this subsurface drain system that are okay and we don't need to replace. And certainly we don't want to, if there's good material out there and it meets all of our specifications, then we don't want to, I'll say, tear up good work. We would look at taking that on maintenance, but that's part of investigating in the survey and design phase. And then also with this project specifically, I have had to estimate replacement or reconstruction of the entire length of the surface grade. I don't know and can't get a good sense, I guess, from the drone video, just if that entire replacement would be necessary or if it's just a matter of repairing or tidying up certain sections. So I've estimated an entire length of surface drain repair or reconstruction. I don't necessarily know that that's going to end up being the case. So there's just certain elements of
But you're certainly not guaranteeing that it'll be less, so it's.
Correct,
I don't want
yes.
to leave here with a bad.
Right, yeah, I think in order to be fair, the approach we've always taken is assuming those worst case scenarios at the first hearing, and we're upfront and honest with the landowners about that at that stage, and fully disclaim, I mean, at this point of the process and throughout all the steps that get us to this point of the process, that we really don't know until we can get out there on the ground. We like to say roll up our sleeves and actually go to work and do the task that we're assigned to do, to know exactly what we would propose to address the petition. You just don't know that until you get to the survey and engineering phase.
Okay, thank you very much.
Chairman, if there is no one else that has any testimony to provide, without objection, I would recommend that we close the hearing.
President,
Yes, sir.
Sir, will there be a Q&A?
Oh, just a second.
I'm sorry.
Sir, if you could approach the mic. And-
My name's Jeff Skinner. I own the property at 6625 Houseman. On the map, it's 17, parcel 17.
Okay, are you going to offer any testimony?
No testimony, I just had
Okay,
questions.
information.
I just had a question. So I had the opportunity to repair a tile on my property recently.
You know what, let me swear you in just in
Sure.
case. Yeah. If you raise your right hand, do you solemnly swear that the testimony you're about to give is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
Yes.
And you said you had questions. That means you're neither for or against it at this point?
I'm neither for or against. I would probably more
wanna
than
clarify.
likely support this. But I just had questions about the repair of the tiles. I had the opportunity to repair tiles on my property just a couple weeks ago. And it seems like I was never aware of how the tiles were actually laid in the ground. And it seems like kind of an old farming way of doing it, where they just simply lay them in place, and there's no seal between tile to tile. So I was just curious how the repair process goes, if it's going to be, if when this new drainage tile system is put in place, is it done the way it was done 50, 60, 100 years ago, or is it more up to date? And maybe somebody can address that for me.
I think Brett can address that.
Okay.
Thank you.
Yeah, I asked the gentleman, was he qualified to do the work? I'm darn sure not qualified to answer your
Yeah,
question.
you wouldn't want us answering that question.
The short answer to that question is no. No, yes, I think what he sees and knows, I assume the old tile was clay?
They are.
Yeah. So I'll say the way they did it back in the old days was the clay sections were usually 3-4 foot sections of pipe, and they were butted up or not physically joined together, and those gaps within where the tile sections laid next to each other, that's where the water seeps into the tile. So that is very common, and I would say would have been proper installation of the clay tile at the time. Modern material has perforations cut into the tile, and so that's obviously not necessary, and certainly not best construction technique that we would have some separation between sections of pipe. We would look at, certainly if there's replacement of the whole system, it's going to be with smooth interior plastic pipe, what we would commonly refer to as N12 material, just better, more durable material, would last longer. The other aspect of that is, yes, when you're going in and making a repair to a broken down clay tile, this is one of the difficult things that I'll say makes accepting that clay material onto maintenance very, very difficult. First of all, making a connection between plastic pipe and clay, they make fittings for it. They don't always fit exactly right, so it's often some kind of I'll say field engineered or rigged up way of doing it, and it's not always perfect. And then, you know, that can be from the standpoint of just thickness of the clay pipe not matching the connections, or sometimes that clay pipe is just an oddball size. I mean, we've seen clay tile that are a 7.5 inch inside diameter, and there's no such thing as a 7.5 inch plastic pipe. The other issue that you come up to or that you encounter is the clay pipe. A lot of the clay tile, and there's thousands of feet, miles of clay tile in Delaware County still. That material in most cases was installed anywhere between 50 and 100 years ago or more, and it's just meeting its life expectancy. The material's given up the ghost, so to say. And so as you dig up that blowout and you want to set in that section of plastic pipe, because you're not going to replace it with clay these days, you're going to use plastic, trying to find a good section to hook that plastic pipe onto, a good material clay, it often proves to be difficult. And you start digging, you know, you'll dig up the blowout, and then you've got to dig back 10 feet either side of it to find good material. And sometimes that 10 feet turns into 20, and sometimes 20 turns into 30, and you end up replacing a 100-foot section because as you dig, the clay material falls apart. So yes, that's a very long answer to no, we wouldn't do it like that. And yes, we would use modern material and construction techniques to make repairs or replacements.
So you generally replace all the clay in an area rather than try to...
It is very rare to encounter a clay system that would be of a condition that we would want to obligate the county to take care of in perpetuity. That's why most of our projects involve replacement of this system.
And all that falls back on the the petitioners anyway, or the owners.
Correct.
So getting it right the first time is
Yes,
important.
yes.
Brett, I had a question while you're
Yep.
there. The assessments, you know, I think the construction estimate at this point is 81,000, I think, thereabouts. Since this is mostly farmland, most of that assessment would go to the agricultural parcels, I presume.
Yes,
Okay.
Yes.
So we'll see that, assuming we go to the second hearing.
Right.
We'll see those specific assessments to each parcel at that point.
that's correct.
Okay.
And the assessments would be based on the final construction estimate, not obviously on this first hearing estimate.
Right.
Okay. Any other questions?
Ask Mr. Skinner if he has questions already.
Oh, okay. Sir, Mr. Skinner, was your question answered?
Yes, it was, thank you.
Okay, thank you. Thank you. Any other questions? Okay, I believe you were about to
I
make a
would
motion.
make a motion, or ask that we read the resolution to close the hearing.
Resolution number 22-181, in the matter of closing the public hearing for consideration of the harsh number 480 drainage improvement petition filed by Thomas and Christine Finks.
So moved.
Second?
Discussion, vote.
Vote on motion 22-181. Mrs. Lewis?
Aye.
Mr. Benton?
Aye.
Mr. Merrill?
Aye. I would then ask that we read the resolution to, could move forward on the work.
Resolution number 22-182, in the matter of proceeding with the project survey and design for the harsh number 480 drainage improvement petitioned by Thomas and Christine Finks.
So moved?
Second.
Discussion, vote.
Vote on motion 22-182. Mrs. Lewis?
Aye.
Mr. Benton?
Aye.
Mr. Merrill?
Aye. May I comment?
Certainly.
I heard nothing today that would not suggest that we should move forward. Soil and Water does an outstanding job on these projects and in conjunction with the county engineer's office. And the testimony here that we heard today supported the moving forward. And so I think we met the conditions that the proposed improvement is necessary, it will be conducive to the public welfare, and that the benefits will exceed the cost. And those were my reasons for supporting moving forward to a second hearing.
Yeah, I would echo that as well. I would also encourage the parcel owners, landowners, particularly the agricultural parcel owners, to try to work together to figure this out and have a private sector solution, because I think when the agricultural parcels assessments are seen, it's going to be a lot of money. And hopefully at that point, you know, it's still not final, we don't have to go forward with it, but hopefully at that point, we can get the parcel owners to cooperate and figure out a private sector way to solve this, because it is going to be very expensive. So, anyway.
Okay, I agree. And we're done.
Vote.
Oh, we have to take a
Well,
vote.
Executive session?
yes, you have to, one more item on our agenda,
Yeah.
but the drainage petition hearing is finished.
The hearing is over.
The hearing is over.
Yeah.
Yes, thank you. Thanks.
Resolution number 22-183, in the matter of adjourning into executive session for consideration of the purchase of property for public purposes and for pending or imminent litigation.
So moved.
Second.
Discussion, vote.
Vote on motion 22-183. Mr. Benton?
Aye.
Mrs. Lewis?
Aye.
Mr. Merrill?
Aye.
We are now recessed into executive.